Good Thursday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allivo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. Well, under partly cloudy skies, I've got 65 degrees on the barn thermometer. It looks like it's going to be an absolutely beautiful day, and the next several. We could use some rain, but if we aren't going to get it, at least we have the nice weather. Well, a couple quick calendar reminders. Today, powered by soy biodiesel, Dale will be traveling down to Washington Courthouse. He'll be visiting with the folks at Seed Consultants about their field day. Also taking place today, I will be traveling to Defiance to tour and observe the ribbon cutting of the new Cinderlo Curly fertilizer plant, a 50,000 square foot facility. That should be interesting. Also, this reminder that Ag Revolution and Amazon are collaborating for an exciting field day featuring Fendt and Amazon equipment in South Vienna. That takes place on Wednesday, August the 27th. The lunch will be provided. You can email them by rsvp@agrev.com for all the details. Again, rsvp@agrev.com. It's time now to check in on our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council. You may have heard on the air yesterday, I visited with Dr. Horacio Lopez Nicora about the recent find of red crown rot in Defiance County. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into that and what it means for Ohio farmers.
Unfortunately, we have detected for the first time now, and it's confirmed in Ohio, the presence of red crown rot. It's a disease that has been for a long time present in the southern part of the United States, but it has been creeping up and showing up in neighboring states like Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, causing significant yield reduction in areas heavily affected. And indeed, for the past 2 years or more, we have been asking everyone to stay vigilant and to really pay attention for the presence of this disease in Ohio. And as of this past week, we have visited a field and we confirmed the presence of red crown rot in Ohio. It's happening in Delaware specifically, but it doesn't really mean that that's the only place that may have it. The fact that we are reporting it and seeing it in the middle of the state, given that our surrounding states such as Kentucky and Indiana have it, and we're seeing it in the middle of the state, just gives me a little bit of an indication that maybe it may be in many other places, right? So the disease, it shows up very much like SDS. I mean, if you're very familiarized with sudden death syndrome, with those leaves turning yellow, with those interveinal chlorosis, the vein of the leaf remain green, but in between the vein, the leaves start to turn yellow, chlorosis, and dying, necrosis, so browning. So most of us are very familiarized to identify and diagnose SDS. It's really hard to tell the difference between these two foliar symptoms. Red crown rot produces the same symptomology. And this is one of the reasons I suspect that we may have been missing it in the past years. And going down to the lower part of the stem, that transition of the stem to the root, that soil level area, that's where we will find a lot of the diagnostics evidence that we may be dealing with red crown rot.
A lot of great information in the article you put in the Corn newsletter, and we're also going to share that at ohioagnet.com and ocj.com, so you can follow it up there. Probably a question folks have, as you mentioned, it was found basically in the center of the state first, or that's where it was identified. How does this pest or this pathogen move and relocate from one field to another?
Anything that moves soil will move this pathogen around. Any equipment that we're moving around that will take some soil from infested area will move this pathogen around. It's also important to understand a little bit about the biology, because this fungus can produce survival structures that will last for a long period of time in the field. These microsclerotia that's the name of these structures, are very resistant and resilient structures that will allow the pathogen to survive even in the absence of hosts sometimes. And therefore, an integrated management is what's needed. Crop rotation is important. Avoid other legumes. Sometimes we are working with cover crops. We want to avoid other legumes because it will affect other legumes. Switch to grasses. Corn is a great non-host crop that we can use as a mean of rotating to a non-host that will reduce the population in the field. Currently, there's no commercially available, complete resistant variety out there, or variety with a complete resistance to red crown rot. There is observation of tolerant and slash partial resistance that needs to be better screened and understand. And that's the research that we will continue doing and start doing here in Ohio. Planting day, we talk about these warm soil conditions that really favored and a lot of moisture, a lot of fields that retain water, maybe a very well-drained fields are going to be less affected if the pathogen is present. So try to avoid those very warm soil temperatures. Sometimes that correlates with avoid planting late. We talk about drainage management. Again, that moisture retention will favor infection and severity. There are a few seed treatments available out there. Again, my collaborators and colleagues across the Midwest are evaluating the different seed treatments that are labeled for use to red crown rot. And there is evidence that some of these will protect the soybean in fields infested with red crown rot. So that's something to be paying attention to. And equipment sanitation.
And for more information, you can check out the article in this week's corn newsletter or at ohioagnet.com. Today's update brought to us by the Ohio Soybean Council and Soybean Checkoff. Let's take a look now at your Thursday weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Nearby weather forecast looks spectacular in Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. Humidity values dropping for your Thursday. Temperatures are pleasant as well. We're going to be seeing sunny and dry weather for not just today, but tomorrow as well. Then there's a frontal boundary trying to work through the Great Lakes region over the weekend. Saturday in particular, we see rain in parts of Michigan and southern Ontario. I don't think we see rain showers down in Ohio, but we probably see some cloud cover offshoots from that, at least over the northern part of the state. But then that front brings in a reinforcing shot of cooler, less humid air. So we're quite pleasant then for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. Partly sunny skies through that period. Humidity values that are so pleasant. Now, once we get into the second part of next week, we're going to start to see temperatures climb just a little bit, but I don't see a lot of moisture headed our way. With the humidity values climbing toward the end of next week, maybe a pop-up shower overnight Thursday night into Friday. Same thing Friday night, Saturday, but it's going to be so limited in scope. I think it's much farther west over Iowa, northern Missouri, southern Minnesota, southern Wisconsin. You get the idea. Not so much here. So I'm going to keep us mostly dry all the way through next week. The Labor Day holiday weekend likely gives us a shot of scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly Sunday the 31st into early Monday the 1st. That's Labor Day. But otherwise, if we don't see anything there, it's going to be late that first full week of September till good rains get to all of Ohio. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it. And you can hear it repeatedly without feeling anything. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural or inborn response from you. Save the food, because 40% of all food in the US never gets eaten. Save the food. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit SaveTheFood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Well, a date you may want to mark on your calendars is coming up next Thursday. That's August the 28th. It will be the 2025 Soil Health and Water Management Field Day taking place at OSU's Lima campus. Regenerative agriculture with the help of no-till cover crops and water management technology and conservation practices will be the focus of that field day at the Ohio State University's Lima Regenerative Agriculture Farm. Ohio State Lima's regenerative farming initiative started back in 2020 and aims to provide research and educational opportunities focused on regenerative farming practices, and the field day will feature talks by leading experts, industry representatives, and even testimonials from practicing farmers in field demonstrations including plots of various cover crop mixes, center pivot irrigation, drainage water recycling, and water quality will all be featured. The field day is intended for farmers, drainage contractors, state and federal agency folks, and extension educators, as well as students in the general public. There will also be certified crop advisor credits available. Registration is free, and you can do that by going to the website go.osu.edu/Lima Field Day. Well, retail fertilizer prices are making agricultural headlines once again as they continue to be somewhat mixed, according to a survey by DTN. Now, for the first time in 9 weeks, a fertilizer price did move a considerable amount. MAP was 6% more expensive compared to a month ago. That phosphorus fertilizer had an average price of $895 a ton. Now, 3 other fertilizers had slightly higher prices. DAP had an average price of $825 a ton, while potash was at $484 a ton, and UAN 28 was at $421 per ton. 4 fertilizers were slightly lower looking back to a month ago. Urea with an average price of $642 a ton, 1034O came in at $669 a ton, and anhydrous at $762 a ton, while UAN 32 was at $489 a ton. Now, a lot of this may not be a big attention getter to producers, as we are not applying a lot of fertilizer at this time, other than the fact that we continue to see commodity prices go down, and yet we still see relatively high fertilizer prices on the other side. Now, if we break all this down on a price per pound unit nitrogen basis, the average urea price was 70 cents a pound unit nitrogen. Anhydrous came in at 47 cents a pound. UAN 28 was 75 cents a pound unit nitrogen, and UAN 32 is 76 cents per pound unit nitrogen. Now, interestingly, if we look back a year ago, 7 fertilizers are higher in price compared to where they were a year earlier. Unfortunately, our commodity prices are not higher. 1034O is now 5% more expensive than last year, while MAP is up 10%. DAP is 11% higher, while anhydrous ammonia is 12% more expensive. UAN 28 is 25% higher than last year at this time. Urea is 28% more expensive, and UAN 32 is 30% more expensive looking back to last year. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
It's time now for today's market analysis, brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC.
Grain markets finished the midweek session in the green, but not by much on corn and soybeans. At the end of the day, we saw corn and beans up both about a penny or two. Wheat markets up 1 to 2 cents in Minneapolis and Kansas City. Chicago actually was the leader through the day yesterday, up about 5 to 8 cents overall. Now, as we take a look at news in the marketplace yesterday, there wasn't really a lot in here. The debate in the trades no longer is whether or not the U.S. is going to be getting a large corn, sorghum, soybean crop out there. The debate now is how big is the word big. The Pro Farmer Crop Tour so far moving through Ohio, Indiana in the east. They spent most of yesterday in Illinois, and then through South Dakota, Nebraska in the west, spending the next day, well, yesterday and today in Iowa, and darting up into southern Minnesota just a little bit. First to several days of the week showing huge numbers overall. So basically right now, confirming what we saw in the most recent WASDE report. The USDA and FSA reported 100,000 metric ton flash sale of corn to Colombia, about 125,000 metric tons of corn to Mexico. Now, both of those countries are regular buyers of U.S. corn. The purchases are not a surprise, but they're timed nicely. Weekly export sales report will be out here just a little bit later today. Most of the Corn Belt are talking about needing one more rain to make it to, well, finish the crop. And in parts of the eastern Corn Belt, we saw that here over the past couple of days. There are plenty of dry areas again. Now the area moving into a drier period on into early September, but also cooler. Not a lot of heat stress right now. About 10 to 15% of the corn is especially looking to be impacted by some heat and or disease pressure, but most of that is out in the plains and into parts of western Iowa and Nebraska. That's what we saw yesterday. Not a lot exciting, but the market did stabilize slightly in the green. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look now at your overnight markets brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, September corn is trading up a half a penny at $3.80 1/2 cents. December new crop corn up a quarter penny at $4.04 1/4 cents. September soybeans are trading up 2 1/4 cents at $10.17 1/4 cents, with November new crop beans up 2 cents at $10.38, and wheat for September trading up a penny and a half, $5.07. This is the Ohio AgNet.